Good morning, Megan Mitchell, December 11th, and today I have a little story for you. Yesterday I talked a little bit about, it wasn't yesterday, it was a few days ago. I talked a little bit about value and how to increase your value, both personally and professionally. How can you be more valuable? But today I have been thinking about fireworks. Why? I don't know. That just popped into my head. You know, we often have Christmas in July, which is a retail, I think it's a retail driven concept, but why can't we have July in Christmas? We're in December. And a little background on this firework thing. I want to ask you what kind of firework you are. When I was a little girl, we used to go in July and we would go shopping. My grandparents, my dad, my mom, my whole family, we would all go shopping in a neighboring state for fireworks. Fireworks aren't legally sold where I live here in the States. And so we would go on a little day trip to a neighboring state, and there were all kinds of pop-up fireworks shops. We didn't have a giant budget, but you know, my grandparents and my parents, my dad, my mom and sister, it was kind of just a family tradition to do this every year, and it was an exciting time to go pick out fireworks. How were we going to get the most bang for our buck? And you know, obviously as little kids, we want to pick out the biggest fireworks. We want to pick out the most dramatic ones. So, you know, they would always let us pick out a few of the more expensive, bigger fireworks. We would spend the majority of the money on medium-sized fireworks and, of course, some smaller ones. And the tradition was to go to my grandparents' house, which was on a big hill. Their driveway was on a hill. We would all set our chairs up at the top of the hill, and my dad and my grandpa would go down to the bottom and set up the fireworks and light them, and we would all watch. And there's 3 types of fireworks that I want to mention, and I want to ask you to think about what kind of firework are you, or what kind of firework do you want to be? You know, in life, no matter what we're involved in, there's always going to be the people who are they come out guns a-blazing. They maybe are extremely talented, or maybe they're very outspoken, and you know, they appear to be very driven. But just like the large fireworks, sometimes you light them and you get this massive explosion, this massive display of beauty, power, whatever it is. But it's very quick and it's very short-lived. Maybe you can think about someone that you know who has come out guns a-blazing, maybe on a sports team, maybe in a job, maybe in an organization. You know, maybe you can think about someone who is, you know, they appear to be, you know, really, really charismatic. But it's very short-lived. They sort of fade off. You see them once, kind of like the one-hit wonder. You can think of musical artists who are one-hit wonders, and then that's it. They're gone. You know, as an art teacher, I can think about I have students who come into class and they're extremely talented. They come in and they're the beginning of the year. They're really, really strong, and they put forth a lot of effort, and then that's it. They drop off. Why? Various reasons. I think one of the reasons is when we come out too strong, when we put all of our efforts in at once, it's easy to burn out. And our nervous system sees that maybe as a threat. If we are kind of like when you start an exercise program and you try to do too much in the beginning and you quickly burn out. And the second type of firework is the dud. Maybe the firework never ignites, or maybe it ignites and it is just really a big disappointment. Fizzles out very quickly. Not much display. You know, we can think about people who maybe they've got it in them, maybe they have the talent, but they never ignite their fire. They never ignite that flame. And so they stay where they're at. No one can ever see the display of what they have, their innate abilities. And then lastly is the firework that gives you the most bang for your buck. The firework that maybe it wasn't as expensive, maybe it wasn't as big, but you light it and it gives a beautiful display. Sometimes it goes up and you think, oh, that was great, it's over. And then all of a sudden, just when you think it's died down, it takes off again and it puts out more and more and more. The slow and steady, you know, that's the type of person, that's the type of individual that you want to be. You know, we know that slow and steady wins the race. We know that the person who makes small, consistent actions every day is more powerful than the person who puts out a big display and then fades away. You know, there's so many ways you can think about it. And this is not only for individuals, but this is also for companies. You know, there's so many companies that come and go. They put out a big display and then they're gone. Or maybe they don't ever go anywhere. What kind of organization do you want to be involved in? One that is here for the long haul, one that is steady and is slowly, steadily building something. I hope this is a little bit encouraging, and I just wanted to say that you don't have to be one type of firework. Maybe you're a dud one day. Maybe you're burnt out that day. That's okay. But then you reignite that flame and you take off again. So look for those people who are there for the long haul. Look for those people who are maybe quietly at times, steadily making progress, steadily moving forward, and consistently lighting their flame or your flame. Have a blessed July and Christmas today.